Have you ever stopped to think how one simple conversation can change your entire life?
It wasn't to ask her out. It was to sell her car.
He's vetting me for his friend. And so I went and he showed up. And when he showed up, I was like, I don't even care if he has a friend. Like, it, there was just something magical. I won't say like anything cliche like love at first sight, but there was definitely, I was not interested in his friend. Do I have permission to be honest with you? Why did you never tell me before? He was like, this is the most important conversation you've ever told me. And like, I felt like such an idiot, honestly. And avoiding that conversation leaves you stuck.
And neither one of us knew where one click would lead.
And that's what today's episode is all about, where you don't have to have all the answers. Life's best decisions start with just conversations.
Welcome to the drive.
We're Dan and Sylvia, where we believe that life's best decisions deserve better conversations.
So pull up a chair.
Okay, Dan. So let's talk about this Facebook friend request. I mean, it is actually a really funny story. Um, I get friend requests all the time. It is not unusual for me to accept a friend request because I'm in the real estate business. So we do it. It's potential clients, right? So I get a friend request and I can see we have something like, I don't know, 50 mutual friends. And most of our mutual friends were people that I went to high school with. So what was your thought process?
So originally, just like her, I saw she came across the bottom of the idea, a suggested friend requests. I was adding people I went to high school with just for a variety of reasons, looking to reconnect, get to know them, and then seeing if there was any opportunity there and to getting into a vehicle. And there she came across the screen, and I was like, you know what? I like it. She's got a really pretty smile and gorgeous eyes. Maybe she needs a car. And so I hit send a button, send a request, took a flyer, and well, folks, here we are sitting in the driveway having this conversation today.
It wasn't that simple. So I get the friend request and I accepted it. It's like I said, it's not unusual for me to accept a friend request, especially when we have mutual friends. But I did something I've never done before, and to this date, I've never done again.
That's
Uh,
a good thing, by the way. She's not done it since. That is a really good thing. Because otherwise, well, we may not have this
we wouldn't be sitting here.
we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
So I immediately sent him a message, and I really, like, hindsight, this sounds very rude. I did not mean it that way. And he didn't take it that way, but I was like, I'm assuming we went to high school together, but I don't remember you. What happened is we chit chatted. He's like, yeah, we went to high school together. And, that we had that little short conversation, no big deal, go on about it. And then a couple days later, um, I trust but verify, right? Like, who is this creeper that just sent me a friend request? And so I pulled out my yearbook, and sure enough, he did go to high school with me. And
I had a lot more hair back then.
so
Had a
I,
lot more hair.
you just ratted yourself out.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I took a picture of his senior year picture and sent it to him.
Yep.
And he was like, wow. And that's when I said, you haven't changed a bit. And he said it was his youth serum that he's taking. And I was like, I need to bottle some of that. Like, I went in on that. And
Yeah.
nothing happened for a few months. And then he randomly messaged me that, the distributor was running into a backup on the order. So I was not going to get my residuals on that anytime soon. And
And we're still waiting. I think they got hung Trump, but
stop it.
you know. But
So
don't worry, we should have that cleared up just any day now. So That'll be on the market soon.
We're not selling you serum. Um, so then our conversation went from Facebook to texting, and I had known a little bit about him. We had gotten to know each other a little bit better.
She did an in-depth dive on me. She talked to all the people I went to high school with to see who I was, what I did, if they knew me. Like,
Okay, where are all my single ladies? Because if you have dated in the 2020s, um, in America, you know how awful it is out there. So, yes, we have investigated this man to
I
no
mean,
end.
I mean, with her investigation, I'm qualified to handle classified documents. Let's just say that. That's how in depth it
You,
was. I was getting random texts from
you're
people
so
I haven't
ridiculous.
spoken with in forever. Hey, do you what's going on here? I'm getting these messages about this from this. So I was
You're
like,
so
wow.
ridiculous right now.
I'm not. I'm really not.
So,
But we do have dating horror stories coming at some point, so you'll
oh my
understand
gosh,
why.
that's like a whole book in itself. But so we agree to go on what I think is not a date. I think that he is not interested in dating because what he's told me, but he does have his best friend that could be interested in dating someone.
Yep.
So he wanted to vet me for his best friend.
Is that not the best way to go about it? I mean, it was the greatest date you ever have because there's no expectations built up. Both parties can be themselves. They're not worried. They're not, oh my gosh, am I looking good? Is this great? It's literally you show up and it's not even a real job interview. It's just talking to people, having a good time, a conversation that took down at a bar.
Ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. It's brilliant.
So it was pretty brilliant. I do have to give him credit where credit is due. But so it was funny actually. That year I started sending my best friends a little video before each date, and I even told them maybe I'll actually splice it in here if I can figure out how to do that. The video.
Hi, friends. Okay, today is February 1st, and we are going to church, but then we have
Going out with him. I'm going to call it a date, but it's not a date. He's vetting me for his friend, and so I went and he showed up, and when he showed up I was like, I don't even care if he has a friend. Like, it there was just something magical. I won't say like anything cliche like love at first sight, but there was definitely, I was not interested in his friend.
There was a strong connection. Not gonna deny it. You walked in the door and you felt it. I think the 20 people between the front door where I walked in and the bar where she was sitting at felt it because you could just feel the heads in the room kind of turn around and start looking around like something had hit them. It's that strong. There's a very strong connection between the two of us. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think several people that know us think that we jumped in way too quickly, but we were at the right place in our life. And, it all started with a Facebook friend request. And
It
here we
did.
are, and we're engaged and getting married in less than a year.
We're growing our business and we're starting a podcast, as you can tell. We think it's a pretty good one. I mean, having really good conversations.
It's
And
my favorite podcast.
it's mine too.
Wow.
Imagine that.
High five. And we had no idea what a simple friend request. I mean, just think of the entire trajectory of our lives changed because not only did he send a friend request, but I accepted it. And to imagine that our lives have probably nearly collided so many times in our life because, like I said, we did go to high school together. I don't remember him from high school, but I'm sure we probably even had classes together. But it's been these near misses our entire lives. In fact, a month before this friend request, we were supposed to be at a Halloween party together.
Don't
If we never would have had that Facebook interaction, we wouldn't be where we here are now.
True statement.
But it's like that with everyone and everything.
Yep.
There's so many conversations that we actually just avoid having. I mean, we avoid going to the doctor because we're scared of what they might say, or
Well, it's those hard conversations, Sylvia, that we're talking about that people have in life, whether it's going to the doctor or going to see a real estate agent such as yourself or calling up a automotive specialist such as me to help manage their day-to-day operations, whether it's their health, their finances, or getting into a house or managing their depreciation on a car. It's those conversations that people don't want to have. Quite frankly, people would rather go and have a root canal on a Sunday afternoon during the Cowboy game than talk to anybody about selling a house, buying a house, or getting into a vehicle.
well, and that's the truth. I mean, this week we've had a really rough week, the two of us, when it comes to clients and the phone calls and the hard conversations we've had with people. I know, Dan, you want to talk about some of the tough conversations you had this week?
Absolutely. And I think those conversations are indicative to the place we find ourselves in right now in this world. The cost of everything we do is going up. And so when it comes down to having to face the fact that the vehicle you're driving today, you got 3 or 4 years ago at the height of the market, now has dropped just as fast as it rose back then. And your other car, your next car that you're going to get, it's extremely expensive because it's gone up with inflation in the market. And so having that conversation with somebody about, you know, your car, you didn't accurately depreciate your car back then, right? So you have all this, and depreciation is the right word for negative equity. So you have this negative equity sitting out there, and now you have to make this hard decision. You know your payment's going up, but the question is do you want your car payment to go up $300 or $400 over the next 7 years, or do you want to go up $300 or $400 over the next 3 to 4 years and get through it quicker? And those conversations are hard to have because, let's face it, who wants to hear, oh, your car payment's going from 650 a month up to 932 a month, right? And I can only imagine what it's like having to talk about real estate when people back in the 2020, 2021, 22 area, when the height of the real estate market, and now all of a sudden it seems to have fallen out in on itself.
Well, it really is a hard time. I mean, two of the last appointments I've been on, the sellers are just completely upside down on their house, or they're barely going to break even, if we can break even on it. And it's because they bought their house. They life's, it happens.
Changes.
They make decisions they may regret now, um, and they're needing to sell, and they're asking questions about, like, well, what about a foreclosure? Well, that's a hard conversation, and they're getting to the point of foreclosure because they put off hard conversations leading up to that.
It goes back to everything is going up. So you have to now anticipate that moving forward. And so it's a perfect example of, well, maybe someday we'll have this weird event happen again that isn't so bad, that causes everything to spike, right? And you'll be better prepared for it the next go around. But the conversation today, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, or whether it's just services in general, is how do we set that up so that we're in a good position 3 or 4 years down the road? Not right now, because that's the mistake most people make, is that they only see, well, I don't want to pay more than X a month. So that's how they plan the next 5 years. Well, the next 5 years, you're not actually planning for it. You're just planning for the here and now.
Yeah, I feel like that's a conversation I've had for a long time with people. A lot of times when they're going through divorce or something like that, um, they have to sell a house, and then they're looking to rent for a year, 2 years, even 3 years. And I always try and tell them, like, look, this isn't a downgrade. This is a launching pad. This is not where we're landing forever. This is where we go and we launch back into the world. We go and we rebuild. Let's try and get you out of this house. Go get you a little launching pad where you can rent something for a year or two and then go back into the world where things are better. Because what a lot of people did is they did like a forbearance or something in during the COVID years, and
Yep.
now it's coming back and it's biting them in the butt, and they're not realizing what decisions of the past did because they didn't ask the right questions.
And I think that's the key. I think they didn't ask the right questions, and I don't think the people that were advising them cared, because they were only interested in the here and now and how to please that and please their pocketbook. So what's important is, whether it's a car, a house, or whatever, you have to view it from the not just the here and now lens, but how's it going to look in the long run, even if it's in 90 days. Just look at the world you live in currently. It changes rapidly. So if you don't plan for it, well, you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what's happening with a lot of people today, is you have to plan. If you're going to make a plan to go forbearance, you need to know what it's going to look like on the other side. Am I right?
Right.
If you're planning to do an 84-month finance on a 75 or $80,000 vehicle, and you're going to depreciate it heavily. By the way, depreciating is not a sales. This isn't sales, but depreciating a car is by driving it, putting miles on it. Well, if you're going to do that, don't you at least want to know what it's going to look like in 5 years when you put 250,000 miles on that car?
Well, I actually think this is a really important conversation, because one of the things I didn't understand when we first got together, because my whole life I've just been anti leasing cars, because I just knew it didn't make sense for me as a realtor. Now I know differently now. I've been properly educated, and I'm glad for it, because I actually do like knowing more about
Yep.
the the world around me. That was actually one of my favorite things about dating people, is I got
To know
more
more.
exposed to things than my little bubble that I lived in. But for me, the biggest thing I've learned is so many people are chasing a payment, and I not just housing and not just cars, but in life, about like chasing a payment. And I think that using an example from Dan the Carman makes the most sense of anything. Of people will chase a $500 car payment, but in order to do that, they are doing an 84-month lease. How many years is that?
7.
A 7-year lease. Okay,
Purchase. It's a
a purchase,
7-year purchase.
7-year purchase, knowing that every 3 years they buy a new car. So
And then, come on, you're honest about this. You get mad at the dealership because you think they screwed you over because you're 15 or 20 grand upside down. That's okay to be frustrated, but if you don't know how you got there, which is what's going where Sylvia is going, because she wasn't educated, which is a lot of people. If you don't know how you got to this point, well, then there's no way for you to avoid it, and you just blame everybody else for it.
right, and so I think that that's why it's so important to understand and to ask better questions, and to have good relationships with people, and better, the conversations you can have are better because of the relationships, and to understand that, okay, you trade out of your car every 3 years. If you are continuing to carry that 20,000 of negative equity into the next car, like it just doesn't make any sense. And then you translate that to housing. You're No wonder we're starting to see literally more foreclosures are coming on the market. And I lived through the 2007 2008. I did a lot of REO properties, real estate owned properties, which is foreclosures, they're bank owned. um, it's sad. It's sad for a neighborhood. It's sad for the homeowners that lost their homes. It's just sad in general. And it's because people were not properly educated on the mortgage they were choosing, because they were choosing adjustable rate mortgages. And people did it to themselves from not asking the right questions.
Let's talk about a difficult conversation for just a minute. Imagine having to go tell somebody that their house that everybody says is never supposed to lose value, you're upside down in a house. Or probably right now, the fact that people think that they can still sell their house for more than what they owe on it. And the market's self adjusted. Am I right?
Right. I mean, the market is, it did some weird things during the COVID years, but just look at our subdivision where we live. 4 years ago, Daniel had this house built, and they're selling brand new homes still in this subdivision for less than he paid that are a heck of a lot bigger than this house. And so
By about $40,000 less.
and so I understand why literally a foreclosure came on the market in this subdivision this week.
How would you talk to somebody? Let's say it's a new client and they're interviewing real estate agents, and they're like, I want to sell my house for this, but I'm being told that this is what I want to sell my house for, and it's way too high in the marketplace. How do you have that conversation? And maybe it's not an interview per se with several other agents competing with, but just in general, how do you handle that? How do you have that conversation?
I like to be really honest and upfront with sellers. I think that sellers, specifically in Texas, they have an idea of what they think their house is worth. Texas is a little different than most other states because we are what they call a non disclosure state. So, unless you are actually told what a house sells for, you never actually know. It's not public record. Whereas if you were to go to another state, say Florida, it is public record. So that is different. So when you see a Zestimate from Zillow, it's not actually accurate. It's a guess. But I like to be very honest because the last thing I want to do is lie to a seller about what their home will sell. I have lost listings because I will not tell them that their house will sell for more than it will sell for. Just recently, I went on a listing appointment. I knew I was up against someone else. I knew she didn't like the number I gave her, but I'm not going to be dishonest. I'm not going to tell you that I can get more for your house than it can actually get in the market we're in. Because if I'm going to lie to you, what other unscrupulous things would I do in my business? That's not who I am.
And just and more to the point, just because it's not what you want to hear doesn't mean it's not the truth, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't hear it. Would
Well,
you
and,
agree?
and it is true. And one of the things I always do try and ask sellers is, do I have permission to be honest with you? And usually it takes them back because they're like, of course, like I don't have to give you permission to be honest with me because I want you to be honest with me. But it does settle them a little bit when I ask for permission to be honest, because then they're like, okay, wait, I'm not defensive at what she's telling me. And then I mean, the reason they hire a professional is because they want a professional opinion. And so I just try and be very honest and tell them the truth of what it is.
When, for example, there was a time when I would have sold or leased a customer a car and just never even worried about it. Have you ever had that where something goes wrong with the car? Maybe there's a problem or an issue with it, and you call the salesman up and or the sales girl up, and they don't return your call. You get sent to their voicemail. You call them 3 or 4 times, and the issue never gets resolved until you actually go up there, have to sit down with the sales manager or general sales manager to hash out that problem. You know, that's kind of symptomatic of it. In the beginning, that's how a lot of us are. Is it right? No, absolutely not. Well, I was one of those guys. I've changed since. I've rehabbed, I've reformed, if you will, right?
Well, I think also back when you first got, like, when did you start in car sales?
2007.
Okay, so we're talking like a 20-year younger Dan the car man. So life has taught you a lot about growing up as a man too. So
It's another hard conversation, is all it is. and it's whether or not you want to have that hard conversation and keep that relationship, because what we all do, it's a relationship business, it's a people business, and that's what it is. Perfect example, it was time for them to get a vehicle. We picked one out. I was against it at first, I'm not going to lie, but that's what they wanted. They had to have it. Dan, that's exactly what I want. I want you to get it. All right. We do check them to make certain they're safe. If there's no major mechanical issues that we can see, got in the car, brought it home, got it all approved. They signed all the documents, brought it home, and I let them crawl through it, smell it, get behind the wheel, take it around the block, but then I come back about 10, 15 minutes later, and I'm like, and they say, "Hey, the check engine light's on." Well, the old me could have said, "You sign the as is that says it is as it is. So here's your car. Enjoy it." Instead, the new me said, "Not a problem. Let me grab the keys and we'll take it back in the morning." Nothing. This is about people. It's about relationship building. Took it back. Turned out there were some major mechanical issues with the vehicle. But you had to have a hard conversation about somebody who'd fallen in love with the truck, the overall costs and concern moving forward with that vehicle and its mechanical issues. And it turned out that we decided to go a different route, and we did. We found them a better truck.
But I mean, at the end of the day, one of the major things that's changed about you is it's about the people. It's people over profits.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. Because in this world, people matter, and your name is everything. If you get a reputation out there as somebody who'll just do whatever it is to make a sale right now and forget about you moving forward, well, let's say, they're not going to say, "Yeah, Dan the carman was great. He took care of me. He found the car I want. Haggling wasn't an issue. Sold me on the right car and payment. And yeah, the check engine light, and he just told me it's all my problem because that's how it was. But yeah, other than that, it was great. I highly recommend him."
But I think you're glossing over a little bit of the conversation. It actually was a harder conversation than that because I know that night that Dan came home, he called me when he was coming home from work, and he was like, "I think we need to sit down with our neighbor, and
Yep.
I don't know how to tell him that he shouldn't get this car." And I told him, I was like, "Look, we just need to sit down with him and tell him that, like, look, at the end of the day, it's your decision, but I need to voice my objections to it." And we kind of had a pre-talk before the talk, and then
Yep.
they came over, and he had the little talk. And um I know our neighbor's wife was like, "I can't believe he listened to you," because he was so in love with this truck. And then now to see him with the new truck, he was like, "Patience paid off." And we're like, "We told you."
All right. So obviously, all that to say this, it pays to have those hard conversations because in the long run, it's going to be better for you, not just from a financial standpoint, but from a good place in your heart and soul. Don't you
I,
agree?
I agree. And
Yes.
I've got some rapid fire questions that I am going to ask Dan the car man. I'll answer too. But we're going to put him on the spot for a minute.
And
All right, let's see. Um, Dan, what's one conversation you'll never forget?
um, so it was when I first got into the industry, I had a one of the older sales guys there took me under his wing, kind of showed me how things worked just in general, and then how to, how he went about selling cars. And the number one thing he taught me was you got to put into work. It's not coming easy. And you go, "Well, Daniel, they tell you that in high school." Yeah, but how many times in high school were you allowed to put in just a little bit of work and it worked? and you were like, okay, well, it's no big deal. Or the teacher helped you, or your parents helped you, or the coach even helped you to get by. In the in the real world, if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get anywhere. And in sales, for all the people who are in sales, right, you have to pick up the phone. You have to call the leads. You have to cold call. You have to dig into your current portfolio of clients and you have to call them. You have to make that effort to reach them. Are they going to answer the phone on the first call? No, not at all. Are they going to answer on the fifth call? No. It's usually the 13th call and they're a little frustrated with you. But if you don't put in the work, you don't find out what's going on in their life that may precipitate the need for a change and you to guide them through it. Otherwise, it's a phone call of, oh, you did. What about you, Sylvia?
One conversation I'll never forget. So, my oldest son was probably about a week from going off to college, and it was just me and him driving in the car. It's weird when you have those conversations that you never forget because you remember exactly what car you were driving, you remember exactly where you were on the road, you remember all the little pieces of everything. And I was telling him, I don't even know what provoked the conversation, but I was telling him that addiction runs in our family. That my father had passed away several years before, but my dad was a bad alcoholic. He had gotten sober when I was a teenager, but not only was he a bad alcoholic, many of his siblings were, and it just also there were addictions on um, his father's side of the family too, and that I just wanted him to know this as he was going off to college that you know addictive behavior can be I don't know hereditary or inherited or
Inherited.
genetic, whatever,
Genetic is a good one, yes.
and that he really needed to take heart of this. I wasn't saying don't drink. I wasn't saying don't have fun. I was just saying, you know, really be aware because you might not be able to control this because there might be something in our DNA that makes this more susceptible for you or something like that.
You just need to
And
be more conscious of your behavior with it. It's like anything else. If you find that you like it to a point where you're willing to go too far with it, then maybe then that you do have an issue with it and you should seek help to take care of that.
yeah, and I just remember him looking at me and he was like, "Why did you never tell me before?" He was like, "This is the most important conversation you've ever told me." And like I felt like such an idiot, honestly, because here was this 18-year-old, and I know he wasn't trying to make me feel stupid, but I really did in the moment because it just, it like flashed before my eyes, like all the moments that you're like yelling at them to clean their room or do their homework or the stupid stuff that actually doesn't really matter. And I had never had that important conversation. And so that's a conversation I will always remember.
Okay, that's a good one to have. But you know, raising children, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You do it about the best you can, and I know you've done that. Two outstanding young men.
I just want everyone listening to think about one conversation you've been avoiding. And avoiding that conversation leaves you stuck. At least having the conversation um, gives you movement. So maybe it's a phone call you need to make. Maybe you need to ask for help. Um, just check on a friend. So, whatever it is, have that conversation this week.
Absolutely.
So, I know for us, one conversation has changed our life.
One friend request on Facebook really dramatically changed it. And if I hadn't have sent it, well, we wouldn't be here today. And so think about that one conversation that probably changed your life.
And the next one probably will too.
Just remember to keep having those conversations so you can keep moving forward.
You don't have to have all the answers, just start the conversation.
Until next time, folks. Thanks for joining us on the drive. Until we meet again.
If this conversation reminded you of someone, be sure and share it with them. And until next time,
Pull up a chair. We'll see you on the drive.